TNCRadio.live, your commercial driver navigation station.
Good afternoon. This is TNCRadio.live, and this is the Truckers Network Radio Show with your host, Shelley Johnson.
Thank you, Tom. This is the Truckers Network Radio Show where we offer news, information, traffic, weather, and entertainment that commercial drivers need and want. You know, many of our drivers are veterans and support veteran causes. There are a lot of veterans out there who are in need, and the scars of war run deep. Not all of our veterans come back from war without physical or emotional disabilities. The Liberty Projects is an organization that helps veterans transition to civilian life. They help with VA benefits applications and their disabilities. They also have a program called Vets and Horses that rescues wild Mustangs and pairs them with a veteran who trains the horses for service. This wonderful program is therapeutic for service-disabled veterans, and it's what I was impressed with when I heard about it. Today, we have the founder of the Liberty Projects, JP Hoffman. Welcome, JP. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Hi, Shelley. Thank you very much for having us and getting the word out. We're glad to be here today. Thanks.
What I thought we'd do is start first with you telling us a little bit about yourself and how this program and the Liberty Projects got started.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm a service-disabled vet myself, and we started the program. It actually, it's been 20 years in the making, so to speak. After I got out of the military, and just because of my active participation in a lot of the veteran groups, such as American Legion, VFW, those types of places over the years, and especially after 2000, we really wanted to do something for the vets that were coming back, the younger guys, because they had an impression that these organizations had a bunch of just old men sitting around in bars drinking beer at their post and didn't seem very exciting for young guys. So we tried to, I was part of the group trying to get more exciting things for young guys, such as motorcycle riding events and motorcycle riding specific posts, especially with the American Legion. And during that time, I would get calls from various, whether it be a spouse, a parent, a loved one, and say, "Hey, JP, I know you're kind of in the network here. Can you help with an issue, whatever that may be?" And so a lot of times, vet to vet, I won't go in and start saying, "Hey, what kind of issues do you have?" and all that. I would simply go pick them up, get their membership started, see where we were at, and I would take them around with me a lot. Literally pick them up and drive them around and from my day-to-day activities. Some of those activities ended up on our ranch, and it seemed to be something that when I was there doing some work or we had some of our people there, and especially my sister, they seemed to gravitate to the horses and things that we were doing because we're constantly training domestic horses, and we've always tried to adopt and utilize the wild Mustangs in our program somewhat. And so those were the people that I noticed that I took with me there would ask to come back. And they would say, "Hey, we'd like to know when you're going back out there again," and ask to come with me. So a long period of time went by, and we started working with them, showing them how we train horses, what that lifestyle is all about. A lot of the vets don't want to talk or have positions out there where they want to talk to people. And so I think they gravitated to that. And two examples I had were, we had a guy born and raised in New York City, believe it or not, and he's now working as a professional farrier, a horseshoer and making good money and has a good living doing that. And so we were able to help him do that and go to the correct schools and get certifications and all that kind of stuff. And we had another gentleman from the Northeast as well, and he actually works for a prominent breeder of quarter horses up in North Texas. And so that was just a couple of examples of where we were able to help. And so we just kind of were doing that as our family. And we developed the the program that we use and kind of started teaching the guys that while they were on site. And so that's kind of how the program developed. And Shelley, the thing that made us actually do the Vets and Horses on a large scale, vetsandhorses.com, and the projects was, I had a close friend of mine. We actually were in grade school together, joined the military together, and he went on to have wild success in the military. We both were enlisted, and he stayed in, ended up completing his degrees, going on to medical school, becoming a medical doctor, and staying in the reserves, and actually was my personal medical doctor. And so we were friends. He was getting ready to get deployed, and he had just made full bird colonel. And there was a lot of excitement in his life for that. And
sure.
To see him in 2018. And unfortunately, he took his life the night of deployment.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so that really set me into a search for how I miss signs and different things, all of us, where there's a close group of us that were all friends since childhood.
Sure. Oh, my gosh. I mean, that had to have been a huge shock.
It was totally shocking, and it makes a guy, you kind of look at yourself and go, wow, here's a guy on the outside, the epitome of success, and not knowing the trauma that he saw as a doctor and as somebody helping these guys, but he's seen it for over, 20 plus years, and not knowing what he was going through. So that's what led us to actually go ahead and form the 501(c)(3) to actually form the charity and start doing it on a larger scale. We just do not want anybody slipping through the cracks.
No.
Our little program can do something to assist and prevent that, then that's what we want to do.
Oh, so. Absolutely. And to get the word out to veterans that you're a resource to them and they can turn to you. Where exactly are you located?
So we have two locations for the program. One is in Oklahoma, and the other one, and I know we got a lot of patriotic truckers out there. The other one is close to Las Vegas. We're less than an hour outside of the city of Las Vegas.
Okay.
We invite the people that reach out to us on our website. They are invited to actually come out and visit the ranch, and if they have time, and come see what we're doing out there. So I wanted to open that invitation up, and on our website, they can reach out to us and make that request when they're in the area.
Well, I think it's a wonderful program. You're rescuing, let me say that again, rescuing Mustangs, which is a win-win there. And you're also helping veterans.
Right.
I was reading a bit about horses used for therapeutic purposes. I mean, there's a therapy involved. I guess they're very intuitive and sensitive, and they really can help with people and center them. Did you want to talk a little bit about that and how all of this works to help the veteran as well as the horse?
Yes, I will. Thank you. The vets themselves, like I spoke about earlier, a lot of them don't want to talk and go into a regular therapist, especially if they're non-military. Works, but I find it rare, at least in my small circle. They prefer not to do that. And so the thing that the vets have to learn, especially when dealing with wild Mustangs, even versus a domesticated colt, you start a colt and you're still going to have issues there starting the colt, and you have to call upon skills that actually the military kind of drums out of you over years, or you're not going to make much headway, especially with a Mustang, where all of those traits on that type of horse are going to be amplified. So what I mean by that is the forgotten skills that a lot of military people learn over the years is empathy, patience, understanding, kindness, compassion. Mm-hmm. And so they have to get these skills back. And one of the ways they do that is by working with the Mustangs through our program. And they don't have to have a ranch background or a horse background. I mean, like I said before, we take any of the vets who are interested in this program, but you will not get very far in the measured progress that you're going to make with the Mustang or any horse if you don't have those skills. And so it forces them to do it, number one. And number two, the Mustang has a new life. I mean, essentially, we took away his freedom, took him away from their family, and we're giving them a new opportunity and a new purpose in life. And so that's something we wanted to do. And by pairing them up, we think that that's a really good combination. And you see the light go on at different times for both. Mm-hmm. And so it's that kind of atmosphere. And when you actually witness it, it's quite something to see. But our program is typically 8 weeks. But anybody who comes to us, we consider, you're part of the family. So they're welcome back at any of our locations anytime. And if they need help with job placement or they want to learn some new skills, they can come back and continue to do that with us. So
essentially, the horses are allowing the veteran to get back in touch with themselves. That's huge.
Yeah, they are. And we don't like to say that we're helping the veteran so much as we need their help, because a lot of skill sets they learned are imperative with the Mustang. I don't care if they're a horse trainer or not. Just the skills that they already know from the military are very, very useful in working with the Mustang. So we say, hey, guys, we need your help to try to get these Mustangs placed, because the more of these guys that we can get placed and put back into service or doing another service or repurposing their life, better. There's too many of them out there now that need to be forever homed, if you will, for lack of a better word. And so we need to, as many as we can move through the program and make valuable, commodities to not only ranchers, but to law enforcement agencies, et cetera, for their mounted patrols, things like that. The more we can do that, the more we can show their value, the more they're going to be in demand versus looked at like a pest. And that's kind of out west here, is a lot of times they're looked at like a pest and, destroying public lands, et cetera.
Right.
But we can't, they are a valuable resource that we see, and we want them to be known as that.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely, on our next segment, want to get into more detail on how all of this works. I'm sure that there are going to be people who want to know, how do you train a wild Mustang? That in itself, I would have absolutely no idea, and I'm definitely interested in all of this. We're talking with the founder of the Liberty Projects, JP Hoffman, and he runs Vets and Horses. It's a wonderful program for veterans, as well as the wild Mustangs that they're saving. You're listening to TNCRadio.live. Stay tuned for more coming up. Living life on the road can be exhausting. It's not uncommon for truckers to live inside their truck more than their own home. Other than the essential clothing, hygiene, and sleeping items, here are some items every truck driver needs to make life on the road more pleasant and feel more like home. A seat cushion. Comfort is key when driving for 11 hours each day. Having a seat cushion can help with tailbone and back pain. It's also great for boosting overall mood while driving. A portable stove. Investing in a portable stove is a great way to start eating your favorite meals on the road. Eating the same fast food and gas station food gets old really quick. Before buying a portable cooker, you need to invest in a power inverter. A power inverter allows you to use your vehicle's battery to generate AC that can run many types of electrical devices. Car mount. Having a place to mount your cell phone or GPS can be extremely convenient and much safer for truck drivers. Coffee maker. There's nothing quite like a fresh cup of coffee in the morning. Staying awake and alert is crucial for truck drivers. Dash cam. A dash cam is a must-have gadget for your expensive truck. A high-quality dash cam can save you from many problems while traveling on the road. A cooler. Having a cooler on the road can save time and money. It also provides the option for truckers to eat healthier meals.
Want to advertise on TNCRadio.live? Take advantage of great discounts for 2021. Check out the sponsors page at TNCRadio.live or send email to info@TNCRadio.live.
You're listening to the Truckers Network radio show here on TNCRadio.live. I'm Shelley Johnson, and I'm talking with JP Hoffman, the founder of the Liberty Projects and Vets and Horses. JP, in our last break, you were talking about your program. It teaches a veteran to work with wild Mustangs, to train them. And these are Mustangs that you've gotten from the Bureau of Land Management. Am I correct?
That's correct, yes.
Mm-hmm. So how does this work? I'm not a horse person. I love horses, but they kind of run me. I don't run them anytime I've ridden them, but I do love them. How do you train a wild Mustang? Is that more of a challenge than other horses, or?
It is. It can be more of a challenge. And the reason is simple. I mean, these horses for generations have now been, they've never seen a human being. And if they have, it was from a long way off and they were running from them. So it is different. And they have a lot more spirit. Horses are prey animals, so they have the fight or flight mentality. And with the Mustangs, you're going to get a little more of that fight than flight, especially when they get cornered. And, and so during our process, what we do is actually now we don't do the roundup. The Bureau of Land Management does that, like you said, and then they bring them to the off-range holding facilities. And so the off-range holding facility will have them there, and then we take them essentially from there, we'll pick them up there, and then we'll put about 60 to 90 days of gentling with our experienced staff, training those specific Mustangs before they interact with somebody who doesn't have any experience. And so we'll do that to get them to a point where they're used to being handled, their feet picked up, moving out in either direction, working, used to having a halter and lead rope on them, just some of the very basics. And then we bring them into a specific program that we've put together, and it's about 8 weeks long total. And the first 4 weeks is strictly groundwork with the Mustang. So by groundwork, I mean they're working typically in a round pen with the Mustang, with under the supervision of one of our trainers or me or my sister, somebody. And we're actually walking them through the program, the steps. And then we talk about at various breaks during the day, what we're doing, why we're doing it. And at the same time, while they're building skills, the Mustangs are also building confidence and trust. And so it's kind of a two-way street. And it's just a proven program that we've used for literally decades for training horses. Our family has. And if you talk to 100 horse trainers, there's 100 different ways of doing things. We just do it our way, and it seems to work. After week 4, typically the first leg that gets swung over and the first ride on a Mustang is with that veteran that has worked with them the 4 weeks prior. So it's a special thing when somebody who, and yes, they are learning how to ride regular horse, through our already trained horses during that 4 week period. But with that Mustang, they're the first leg that gets swung over that Mustang. And so it's a big moment when they're able to do that. But yeah, it's a specific program. And then that latter 4 weeks is training the Mustang on basic skills that they need in order to be a productive citizen. And sometimes we get special requests, like for different law enforcement, honor guards, things like that, where we do put, where they'll have to have shot training or firearm training where they're used to loud noises. We desensitize them to that. So, it's a desensitization process. So on a horse to train it, you're either sensitizing or desensitizing, and you have to know when to release the pressure during the training, and they learn really fast as you do that.
How do you do that?
You mean with the shot training? We actually do
desensitization.
Yeah, the desensitization can be everything from swinging a rope on them, lariat rope, and swinging it on their back, on and off, on their legs, getting up to where. But you got when a horse, they're using the reactive side of their brain. The way to get their thinking side is to get their feet moving. So you want to get their feet moving around the round pen each way, and start training them with either, and you start desensitizing them with ropes, with like plastic bags on a stick that you get from the store. and getting to where they realize that those things aren't going to hurt them. It's no big deal. And they stand there and that you're the safe spot. And so they start learning that, their most valuable commodity is air. And so the way to get air is to be by whoever's training them. And that's where they get their breaks, and they realize if they stand still, that's where the trust comes in. And they're moving out. It's like sending a kid down to the store, but making them do, 50 push-ups every 10 yards. That's kind of what it is. The same kind of thing with the horse training. So you get them to where they learn, hey, this is the good spot over here, next to this person, not out here where I can do my own thing or act however I want. But if I do these simple things that they want, then I'm in a good spot. And they pick it up really fast. So, but it's a tried and true method that has been used by us for years. And a lot of trainers do use that similar methodology.
Wild Mustangs, period, are beautiful animals, and they're very spirited. I would think that that's something that the veterans that work with them can really admire. They're also, the veterans are building some confidence while the horses are building trust. It's a wonderful symbiosis, really.
Yeah, it seems to work well. And so one of the misunderstandings about Mustangs is that it's a species of horse, much like quarter horse, thoroughbred, Appaloosa, paint. It's not. The Mustangs got all kinds of species in them. Okay. And they've been around. And so it's much like us. I mean, we Americans, and especially the veterans, I mean, we come from all over, and we come from all walks of life. And it's the same thing with those guys. And the Mustangs are there. And yes, they are spirited, and they're very, like I said, they're family oriented. If somebody learns a little bit how the family units work in the wild, I mean, it's pretty amazing. And their memory for people that were in their herd, and for different horses that were in their herd, their memory after years and years is quite remarkable. And so, but yeah, they are very spirited. So when I say it's amplified, we could do the same program, and there are programs out there that work with the domesticated horses for the same reason. But with the Mustang, it is amplified because they're more. If a regular domesticated horse can feel a fly land on its back, a Mustang could feel a gnat land on its back, and they're just more sensitive because they're out for literal survival at that point. So
sure, absolutely. And what you're doing is saving them, because there's obviously the Mustangs. It's terrible. I know that they've gone in and had to cull the herd, if you will. And that's so terrible. They're such wonderful, wonderful animals. So what you're doing is you're helping not only the Mustangs, but you're helping the veterans. I mean, I think that it's just a win-win all the way around.
Yeah, we agree. And so, one of the things that, the best thing in our mind, and I guess every American's mind, would be, hey, it'd be great if we could just leave them alone and leave them on the range. Right. That's not happening, at least right now. So we're trying to make the best of that situation by putting them to work. But the Mustangs are extremely sensitive. I call them a 1,000-pound biofeedback machine, because they can sense and respond to your intention. The horse knows what you're going to do before you do it. And if you ask anybody who's ridden professionally, or rodeo cowboys, or people who show horses, they'll tell you that. They intentions. They know the moves you're going to make before you make them, and physically and emotions, they feel that, and they can mirror back that to you when you're handling them. And so what that makes happen is it makes your subconscious issues arrive, and they come in, they stand there in your face, and when you get frustrated, a famous horse trainer that I love to use this saying that he has is, hey, frustration begins where knowledge ends. And so it teaches you to move forward and get a little more knowledge and work with them, because being frustrated and trying to beat them into submission just isn't going to work. So
I was reading that they're extremely intuitive, and they mirror, and they really watch you, and they get to know who you are. It kind of explains probably when I've been on horses and they've tried to rub me off on trees, they could sense that I'm not confident on them. And if they're so inclined, then they try to misbehave.
Yep. So, well, we always say, like the horses are, they're essentially, even though they're an animal of prey and got extreme athleticism, they're lazy animals, so they're going to take the easiest road. And if they feel like, hey, man, I don't have to do any work if I can get this person off my back that's afraid and that they're sensing that fear, then that's what they're going to do, so it's just an easy path for them. It doesn't come out of any maliciousness. It's just, hey, I'd rather sit over here and just graze and chill out today. And if I can get this person who doesn't know what they're doing off my back, that's what I'm going to do. So
actually, I've seen some amusement in some of the horses' expressions, like "ha ha, gotcha."
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, they all have their different personalities. Just like I say, dogs have that too, where they all have a different personality. So that's for sure.
So, what have the veterans said who have worked with the horses? Have they learned new things about themselves?
They have, and so the program is just the start. So one of the things that we've been working with in conjunction with this program is there happens to be and it's an actual machine. It's a biofeedback machine that a VA doctor in Nevada came up with and started using, kind of doing the same thing, and is able to actually map the brain's electrical impulses, et cetera. And it does the same thing as going to therapy. And when the guys are done working with the horses and get on the machine, I call it the brain paint machine, for lack of a better word. You'll have to forgive me, but that machine, after the guys work with the horses, are able to detect those same patterns, those good rewiring, if you will, patterns back in the guys' brains after they work with the horses. So that right now our program is like highly in demand. It's hard for us to accommodate everybody, although we'll get to everybody and get them signed up. And so our goal, why we're reaching out and appreciate you having us on, is because we do want to expand the program, just because of the demand, and the feedback we're getting has been really incredible. And when you see hardened guys that have done multiple tours tearing up at the end of the day and coming and saying, thanks so much for having me out and putting me in the, it's a moving thing for me and my family. And so we just want to continue the program and continue to grow it as our goal, just to meet the demands for the vets. And of course, the Mustangs, we can always place them. And so we just need to have the resources to continue to expand the program.
I think it's wonderful. And you're putting the veterans back in touch with themselves, maybe a piece of themselves that they'd left behind or lost after they'd been in war. So it's a wonderful program.
Yeah, the problem, and I put it this way, and I don't know if people get it or not, but a lot of times, a veteran comes back, and especially nowadays, because we've had so much of continuous war, that the vets will come back and their families and friends have a cape on them. And by putting a cape on them, they're kind of a superhero to everybody around them, whether they want to be or not. And so when a superhero has problems paying the phone bill, or has problems finding a job, or, different things like that, who do they go to? And so again, it creates this spiral they get into. And so we want to be that release. We want to be that family that they can reach out, whether they're in the program, whether they graduated through the program or not. They have a home and their families have a home. And yes, we have places they can stay with us on our ranch, and they're welcome. And we'll help them with those things for life. It's not just it's a cool vacation to go ride some horses for a couple of weeks. It's a true, once you're in the family, you're in. And so that's what we want to do, and continue to expand it, and actually have veterans, even though we're in Oklahoma and Nevada, we want to expand into other states and have veterans who've been through the program actually run those programs for us in these other states that have been there, and kind of turn the reins over and start and continuing on with the program started.
That would be wonderful. We're talking with JP Hoffman. He's the founder of the Liberty Projects and Vets and Horses. This is just a marvelous program. We're going to be talking about some more information and maybe how people can reach out and help, because I think what's happening with the Mustangs and the veterans is just wonderful. You're listening to the Truckers Network radio show here on TNCRadio.live. I'm Shelley Johnson. We'll be back with more coming up. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Truckers Network radio show. I'm Shelley Johnson, and we're talking with JP Hoffman, the founder of the Liberty Projects and Vets and Horses. It's a wonderful, wonderful program. JP, you were talking about VA disability ratings, and let everyone know what you do and how you help veterans with that, what that process is.
Sure, thanks. The vets, when they get out, if they've been injured while on duty, they come out with a rating of 10% to 100%. And typically, if there's more surgeries required, different therapies, things like that, usually don't show their head till later. They have to go back and get and request an increase. And so they have to go through a board and a full ratings program and go see doctors and explain this and that. And they have to answer for every injury. And it's quite brutal. And the process is, in my mind, while there's some good ones out there, most of the experiences have been bad that I've heard about, and the vets don't go back, and they just give up, and they don't ask for the increase. And so they just, get stuck with whatever measly amount the government decided to give them at that time, and versus fighting their way through it. And so we have some experts on board in our group that are experts at that, and ex-VA people that know how to work that system. And so we want the guys to know that need just that help or want that help. They can reach out to us, and we will help them with that and be there by their side through the whole process. So I just wanted to get that out there.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. They need to have advocates. Absolutely. And it's not acceptable that our government makes it so difficult for returning vets who've served our country. So it's wonderful what you're doing. Can anyone reach out to you regardless of where they're located for this sort of assistance? Or
Absolutely. We encourage it, and we have people reaching out from all over. And yes, we encourage anybody to reach out. You can reach us at vetsandhorses.com. At any time, vetsandhorses.com, and send us a note, and myself or somebody on our team will get back to you. And we need you, and we got to stick together. And the horses can't ask for help, and the vets won't do it. So I'm tasked to do that on their behalf. And I appreciate you guys. So thank you. And thank your wonderful audience for today, giving us this forum.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. I love the program. What you're doing, it's interesting. I was doing a little bit of reading before the interview, and I saw that the ancient Greeks, the Greek physician Hippocrates, known as the father of medicine, actually talked about the therapeutic potential of horseback riding. So what you're doing is you're helping the veteran. And the veteran's learning a skill, obviously, and the horse is learning a skill as well. The veteran is learning more about who he or she is. Parts of that may have been lost in war, and you're healing. It's a healing process. It's just wonderful. And your efforts don't just stop there. Like you said, you help with the VA disability ratings and help people walk through the bureaucratic nonsense that government creates so they don't give up and they get the rightful benefits that they're entitled to. And thank goodness you're out there to do that. I really appreciate everything you're doing, and I'm sure there are a lot of veterans who do as well. Again, how can everyone reach you? What kind of assistance did you need again? You said volunteers, and I'm sure you could use some financial contributions because things don't run on air.
We could use financial contributions, yes, and volunteers. We're at vetsandhorses.com. And one thing that we can guarantee you with itemized showing you is where every penny is spent. Every penny is spent on the program. So,
excellent. And that's huge because there's so many organizations. You can't always say that. And people want to know that their money's going exactly where they want it to go. So thank goodness for that. You're doing a wonderful job. Thank you so very much, JP, for being on the show today. This is the Truckers Network radio show here on TNCRadio.live. We've been talking with JP Hoffman, the founder of the Liberty Projects and Vets and Horses. Stay tuned for the evening surge coming up right here on TNCRadio.live. Thank you for listening to another great interview on TNCRadio.live and the Truckers Network radio show. All of the material you hear on TNCRadio.live on our website, our broadcasts, or our podcasts are copyrighted. There can be no distribution without the express consent of TNCRadio.live and its partners. For inquiries, write us at info@tncradio.live. Live.